You will recall that while we were in opposition, we promised that once we got into government, there are a number of transactions that were done under the previous government that will be subjected to investigations, and charges may flow if those investigations yield those charges based upon the advice, of course, of the Director of Public Prosecutions. That is an ongoing process, but many people believe that we may have not been pursuing it with the desired speed. That is not so. There are so many other things that have happened since that have diverted the attention of the police force in other directions. But we remain committed. We remain committed to that promise to investigate these transactions. For example, the former Minister of Finance, Mr. Winston Jordan, has been implicated in a number of nefarious and questionable transactions, which we intend to send to the police force and to other law enforcement agencies for their investigations. One that comes to mind quickly is the allegation that several vehicles were sold by the Guyana Revenue Authority without due process to relatives of that minister. A second one that comes to mind quickly also, is the sale of a number of state properties valued millions of US dollars, far below market value, without any public procurement process, and after the no confidence motion, and worse yet, after they would have lost government. That is, after March the 2nd and before August the 2nd. Those transactions are clearly offensive to law and therefore ought to be subject to investigation. Another one that comes to mind also is the transaction or the circumstances surrounding the deposit, the deposit from ExxonMobil. You would recall the finance minister at the time completely denying that we ever received that 18 million bonus, and then we subsequently found that it was deposited in some account at the central bank, authorized by him in writing. And then, of course, he took that money and invested it somewhere in the United States, and it is unclear where that money is or whatever is left in that account. So, these are matters that will obviously continue to receive the attention of the relevant state agencies and investigative arm of the state, and that is a duty that we owe as a government to the people of this country. After all, we have a duty, a fiduciary duty to the people of Guyana to protect public property and to protect public funds. Public funds which are owned by the people, public property which are owned by the people, we have a duty to protect them and to call in the state investigative apparatus where the circumstances require investigations to take place. And we have certainly identified certain areas. So it's a work in progress, and we will continue to persevere in that direction to fulfill that promise that we made, not only in relation to Jordan, but in relation to various other land transactions. Recall, I also we would have also spoken at length about land giveaways. Some of them we have settled already. Others are still to be handed over to the Guyana Police Force, and the other investigative agencies of the law. So I just wanted to bring you up to speed on those matters because there seemed to be a public perception developing that we are not delivering on this promise.